spent nuclear fuel could exceed 110,000 tons of heavy metal. That's a huge amount of spent nuclear fuel. If we connect that spent nuclear fuel assemblies linearly, it can extend over 1,000 kilometers. There's a round trip distance between the north border and Busan of South Korean peninsula. So what shall we do with this ever-increasing spent nuclear fuel? That's the prominent issue, very urgent issue in the Korean government. And furthermore, despite every measure to increase the existing spent nuclear fuel pools, they will reach capacity just after 2016. So under such circumstances, the finding a long-term spent fuel management solution has become a vital issue for the Korean government. Let's take 1 second to see what the spent nuclear fuel is. We can simply categorize the composition of spent nuclear fuel into 5 groups, as can be seen here in this figure. The first group is artificially formed transuranics, including plutonium and minor actinides such as neptunium, americium, and curium. A small amount of cesium, strontium, about 3% of fission products, and 95% of unburned uranium. Then what makes the spent fuel so problematic? The answer is quite simple. So only 1% transuranics, artificially formed during fuel irradiation in the reactor. That makes a trouble for the management of spent nuclear fuel. Cesium, strontium is also a big burden on the heat power and radiotoxicity, but that burden is rather limited to short term. So as far as long-term heat power and radiotoxicity is concerned, transuranics is the main component. So if we can remove those 1% transuranics from spent nuclear fuel and can burn it in the fast reactor or transmute it into the short-lived fission product, then the remaining spent fuel is not a high-level waste anymore. So you can get an idea how we can effectively manage the spent nuclear fuel. One thing I'd like to point out here is that because the half-life of transuranics is so long, the radiotoxicity of that spent fuel it takes about 300,000 years for that spent fuel to reach to the level of natural uranium ore. That's why we have to assure long-term safety for the disposal of spent nuclear fuel. We have to assure 1 million years for the safety of disposal of spent fuel. And also, it is required to have a institutional control for the disposal facilities for 10,000 years, something like that, 10,000 years. Okay. There could be many options for the management of spent nuclear fuel, but there's probably options we can have in Korea, we can consider in Korea at this moment. So interim storage, Purex type reprocessing, and high-level waste disposal, and direct disposal of spent nuclear fuel. First of all, let's think of this Purex type reprocessing and high-level waste disposal. We can consider transshipment of Korean spent nuclear fuel to a third country for offshore reprocessing and return all the waste back to Korea for storage and eventual disposition in Korea. You would all know that reprocessing option is very expensive. It could cost several $1,000s per kilogram heavy metal, something like that. Compared to that high expenses, the benefit for that reprocessing is quite marginal. We can only reduce the needed repository space maximum 50%, and furthermore, it can only deepen the needed time for the storage of high-level waste for 10 or 20 years, something like that. So compared to the cost, the benefit is so much marginal. So I think that option is not a viable option for Korea at this moment. The second option we can consider is the interim storage. That should be a easiest and attractive option at this moment, which can pass the responsibility on to the next generation. But problem is, how we can secure a site for that interim storage facility. That's a question. In fact, Korean government established a lead waste management policy in the middle of 1986. That policy was to store the spent nuclear fuel at and away from reactor storage facilities for an extended period of time. So from 1986, Korean government, tried to secure a site for construction of spent fuel AFR and low-level waste disposal facilities. At that time, the Korean policy was to collocate both facilities at a site. As you can see in this table, every airport during over last 20 years was founded with the strong opposition from the local community. In this picture, you can see how serious the demonstrators were and how violent the demonstrations were. At the bottom of right-hand side, you can see a demonstration even at night with a candlelight at hand. So without any hope for the Korean government to secure integrate site for the lead waste management, Korean government changed it in the year 24. They changed national policy to focus on the only low-level waste disposal site. So they disseminated at that time. There is no dangerous nuclear fuel. Only, we are going to construct a disposal facility for low-level waste. And they provide, a special benefit based on the special law, something like that. So $300 million at a one-time shot, plus another $500 million as a waste reception fee for the period of facility operation. Location of Korean hydro and nuclear power headquarters to the same county, collocation of proton accelerator and related R&D facilities, and additional long-term support program from the federal benefit budget. So I'd say that the total cost should be about just over $5 billion. With that concession and incentives,